Leaving the corporate world, becoming an independent artist, and circus arts are all topics of conversation that I had with Lori Ryerson, fine art photographer, on today's episode of YYE Yonge and Eglinton Origin Story. So Lori, when I get a chance to do these interviews and kind of speak with people like yourself and personalities in the community, I'm always interested, and I think everybody watching as well, is curious to know how things started for you. How did you get into photography? How did you kind of turn it into a business? So if you wouldn't mind kind of sharing that with us.
I actually have a bit of a fun story about all of that. Taking pictures has always been part of my life. It just is. I mean, you know, those Instamatics when I was a young person and that kind of thing. And we didn't have cell phones back then, but we had cameras. The getting into the fine art photography, back in 2010, I took a trip to the Sahara, to Egypt, and I slept out a night in the western desert, in the white desert in the Sahara. And I have no images to show from that night because I didn't know how to make a camera do what I needed it to in order to take those images. And so I came back from that trip and decided that I finally had a reason after 33 gap years to go back to school. And I studied photography, digital photography, for 3 years at night school. And when I finished all of that, I met someone who was in a related industry to me, and she said, well, why aren't you selling your work? And I'm like, whoa, selling my work? Because I didn't know you could do that. And so from that point on, I began doing shows around Toronto, and the Artist Project, the Toronto Outdoor Art Show, the Riverdale Art Walk, all of the summer shows and that kind of thing, and started selling my work.
So you had this, the incredible trip, the Sahara, and you're in the desert, but you had, I guess, this missed opportunity to kind of, you've got your memories, but to capture them and maybe to be able to share them.
Seriously missed, yes.
Yeah, and so that was the inspiration for you starting a whole new career.
And not only a whole new career, but after about 3 years of doing that, I had been in the communications industry, doing nonprofit association management and event planning, and I just chucked all of that and decided that it was better to become a full-time artist.
Wow.
And so in 2016, I retired all of that and decided to really give in to my love of travel and to my love of the art itself, and focus all of my time on photography.
Wow. How scary was that, leaving your kind of your corporate gig, if you will, to becoming a sole proprietor and being an artist?
It is a huge step. But I come from a bit of a background that says leap and the net will appear. And so sometimes you just kind of have to step out there and just get it done. Leap
when the net will appear is something I want to expand on a little bit, because you dropped on us off camera before that not only do you have this kind of your corporate background, right? Like that's your profession or whatever, but that for a while you were a trapeze artist?
I wouldn't, that's an area where I wouldn't use the word artist. Okay. That was more, for 16 years of my life, I studied circus arts, and specifically the flying trapeze. In the circus world, we believe that everybody finds something, there's something for everyone in the circus, whether it's sweeping up after the elephants or studying flying trapeze. And for me, it was the flying trapeze, which was my way of dealing with a fear of heights. So it wasn't 100% successful. I'm still afraid of heights. But the other thing they say about trapeze is don't worry about the heights. Be worried about the addiction, don't worry about the flying. So yeah.
But the leap and the net will appear, I'm assuming, kind of came from that, and you've applied that to your, let's say, bravery for kind of leaving a very kind of set, comfortable kind of corporate position and kind of move into becoming an artist, which, like I said, I imagine can be scary, right? So
there's no question that dealing with the circus world, with people in the performance industry, with all of that, very much impacts my ability to travel on my own, to make decisions, to do this kind of thing, it totally changed my perspective on the world. There's no question about it.
Yeah. Well, Lori, thank you for sharing. That's going to be one of the more interesting, I think, origin stories I've done so far. Circus, performing arts, corporate gig to fine photographer and an artist. So I appreciate you sharing, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you supporting the arts.